Hello academics class, welcome back to Caltex Academy. Today on our board, we're looking at this question from Nkumba University, Uganda, and that is on quantitative method coursework stroke practice question for distance program learners of August semester 2025. When you look at this question here and we take a survey of the questions, it looks a little bit longer and sometimes students normally get confused and they fear going through this kind of questions because it's so lengthy. They're afraid of maybe analyzing, but in fact, this question is very easy. It has been picked from set theory. And let's get started. The first thing when you have this kind of question is to survey it first, and secondly, you read through with understanding and we collect data from our reading. So the question says, a research team conducted a survey among 200 individuals to understand their patterns of media consumption. The study focused on three popular forms of media: watching television, that is TV, listening to radio, and using social media platforms. Respondents were asked to indicate which of these media they regularly use, either alone or in combination. The results of the survey were as follows: 110 watch television, 95 listened to radio, 100 use social media, 50 watch TV and listen to radio. So there are two combinations here, we have to mark that. And next, 40 listen to radio and use social media, 60 watch TV and use social media, 35 use all the three, and that is this television, radio and social media. Using this information, answer the following questions about the media consumption habits of the respondents. Part A, how many people use only television? Part B, how many people use only radio? Part C, how many use only social media? D, how many use exactly two types of media? E, how many use at least one type of media? F, how many use none of the three media? G, if a person is selected at random, what is the probability they use exactly one type of media? So from here, we have all gone through and have seen exactly what is required out of us, so we can form a data. But before forming this data, what we have to also know here is that we have to let some letters represent the television, radio, or social media. And by that, we can come down here and say in our solution, let television equals T. Feel free to also use TV as it is appearing from there. And the next was radio. So radio will be represented by capital letter R. And lastly, social media, we can represent this by S. Now next, we need to collect our data from our reading. The number of those people who were called for this survey were 200. So that is the universal small n is representing number. So number of those people all is represented by this symbol epsilon. That is representing total sum of the people who were called for that interview, and there were 200 from our question up here. So the next one is the number of people who use television, TV, and of course we have used here capital letter T was 110. So the next one, the number of people who use radio, N of R were 95, followed in by N of S. Social media, there were 100. So let's get more space. And again, here we have those one who use this media in combination. So we have N of T intersection R. So they use both television and radio. And their number was 15. And also another combination was radio and social media and intersection S. Remember, this N should be a special N, something like that, not this N here. This is our regular N. So this is representing intersection. And if you see something like that, that is union. So take note that what we are writing inside here is this one here. So let's continue, and we have this number of intersection of radio and social media. as 40. And the number of another combination, and that is T, television intersection social media, is 60. So from the question, we're also told that there's some people who do not use any of this media where to get, meaning we don't know. We're going to put it here, and there are two ways of notating it. We have N of, you can start with T, complement, intersection, R, complement, intersection, S, complement, or N of T, union, R, union, S. This is unknown, so we can say X. And after this, we can represent all this in a Venn diagram. That is our next step. So let's move down here and represent this in our Venn diagram. Yeah, this is our Venn diagram. So we can start with the universal. You can put anywhere, either here or somewhere here. Feel free. Any location that you feel comfortable is okay. So N of this epsilon is equivalent to 200, total number of this sum. And take note, if you have three Venn diagrams, there are always 8 regions. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And all these 8 regions were represented up there. So let's go on to the first one here, and that was N of T, that is television, is equivalent to 110. And N of R, that is radio, that is equivalent to 95. Lastly here, N of social media S, and it was 100. So we can move inside here, and we have the one that is shared with 3, it was 35. Now let's look at the next one here. Somewhere we had the total number of those one sharing this was 50. So when you subtract it away, this 35, we get here 15. And this one was 40, and if we have here 35, we get here 5. And this side here, we get 25, because if you sum it together, it must give you 60. We have these reasons that are not known. That is where our questions were lying, so we can represent by some letters as A, B, and C. And the reason outside here, the 8th reason, we can use X, and that is what we used earlier on there. So with all this, we can now go on and get these values by adding, considering each of the cycle. So A can be calculated by adding A to 15 to 35. We just follow the whole of the cycle plus 25, and this will give us the sum of all this, that is 110. So if we sum all this, we have A plus 75. This will give us 110. And then we collect like terms by taking 75 to the right hand side. We have 110 minus 75, and that yields 35. So that is the value for A. You can move on to the value of B. They're also adding what is inside this cycle for R. So we have B plus 15, which is this one. We move there to 35. Then we move to 5. And this must be equivalent to 95. Again, summing up this, we have B plus 55 to give us 95. Collecting like terms, we have 95 minus 55, and subtracting this away, we get 40. And that is the value of B. So next is the value of C. And for C, maybe you can write it here. We have C plus 5 plus 35 plus 25. This must give us 100. Also summing it together, we get here 65, and this gives us 100. Collecting like terms, our C is equivalent to 100 minus 65. That also gives us 35 as this A here. Now after that, we need to get this value for X, and for X, we need to just simply add all these 8 reasons to give us 200. Now, another trick is to take these elements of the highest number here. We can see the highest number out of all these 3. Median is 110. We just replace the whole of this one by 110. Then we add the remaining 4 reasons here. So let's go on and do that by taking 110, and we add it to the value of B, the value of 5, and C, and from there plus X, to get us back into 200. Okay, so from here we can start by x plus 110 plus 5 plus our c plus b. This must give us the universal, and that is 200. So the next thing is replacing our c and b with 40 and 35. So we can repeat writing this one. Meanwhile, we can reduce this by adding them together, and we have 115 plus c, that is 35, plus b, and that is 40. This must give us 200. Now summing them all together, we get 185. It is equals to 200. And collecting like terms, taking 180 to the right hand side, it changes to negative 180. Let's get more space, and when we subtract this out, we get 15. And this 15 are those people would not participate in any of those medium. Now, after writing this, the next thing we have to do is to collect all we had in our fair Venn diagram. So let's get our Venn diagram here. Okay, in our Venn diagram, again, we can repeat exactly what we had earlier on there. So we have epsilon is number 200. And here, remember, it was 35. This one was x, and I've just gotten our x to be 15. Then end of t, it was 110. This was end of r, radio, and it was 95. This was also end of s, social media. It was 100. And we move on here, there was 5. Here it was 15. And this one, it was 25. So again, we can move on and enter our value for A. It was 35. Value of B was 40. And C was also 35. Now all our reasons are okay. You can go ahead and try to sum up any of this cycle to see whether it brings for us what is outside here. So when you add 5 to 35, you get 40. 40 plus 40 is 80. 80 plus 15 is 95. That is correct. You can also move on here and have 35 plus 5 is 40 plus 25, that is 65 plus 35, that is 100. Correct. You can also sum this and to bring us to 110. The next thing is to start answering our questions. So the first question was asking us to get the number of people who only use television. Part A, N of people who use television only, and that was equivalent to 35. This is television, and that is the only part that television is taking, because the other 3 reasons here have been shared by radio and social media, and that answers part A. So part B is also asking us to get number of people who use only radio. So N of R only is the same as this one, and that is 40. And let's move to C. In part C of the question is also asking us to get the people who use only social media. So N of S, that is social media only, is this one here, that is 35. Just the same like for television. And what is D asking us to answer? It's asking us to get number of people who use exactly 2 media. Exactly 2 is this one, that one, and here. Remember, the one in the middle uses all the 3, and this one uses only 1. So this one not use any. So we have this one, I've just cycled here. Uses what? 2. Only 2 media, or exactly 2, is the sum of all those 3 reasons, that is 25 plus 5 plus 15. 25 plus 5, that is 30, plus 15, that is 45. So 45. By the way, we are missing out something. These are people, so we have to always write the unit there. So we can go on, and so the census of people. So we have here 45 people. And let's move on to E. So part E of the question is asking us to get number of people who use at least one type of media, at least one, beginning from 1 or more. So we have 3 reasons here. The one for 1 is this and that, and for 2 they're here, for 3 they're here. So if the question is saying at most 2, meaning from 2 to none. 2 to 1 to those ones who are not using any of this media. But for us, since at least 1, beginning from 1 up to the maximum, that is 3. So here we can sum all this. So taking the first techniques we use our own, we can take the whole of this cycle. This is represented by 110. Then add the remaining one here, that is 40 plus 5 plus 35, and that gives us 185 people who uses at least one of this media. At least these people here are somehow in another class, but for 15 people outside here, they didn't use any of these media of communication simply because they're below the poverty line. They could not afford to buy radio, neither can they subscribe to television, nor do they own smartphone for browsing social media. So there are 15 people. Here they're not considered because we are to use at least one or more. And F is saying we need to also find out the number of people who use none of this media. So 15 of them, as you can see from our fair Venn diagram here, use none of the media. And finally, G is asking us to get the probability of people who use one of this media. We need to get the sample space. And of course, we know our sample space is the universal, and that is what? 200. And then we also need to know the events. So the events are this one. This is E, our regular E, representing events. Maybe I can say here, let E represent event. So for 1, we had here, and that is 35 plus 35, or somebody can say 35 times 2, 35 plus 40. Now, if we add this together, 35 plus 35, that is 70, plus 40, that is 110. Now, probability is calculated from the number of events divided by the number of sample space, and we have this epsilon. Now, making substitution, we had here 110 over 200. So we can reduce up this 0 by that. And since 11 is a prime number, it is the lowest we can do, so just end there. And that is 11 over 20. And remember, probabilities is a number between 0 and 1. When the event is certain to happen, the probability is 1, and if it is not certain to happen, the probability is 0. And if it is certain to happen, it should be lying between 0 and 1. It would be like a fraction, 1 over something, but we cannot have a probability that is negative, neither do we have a probability that is more than 1. You have to keep this in mind. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel to get more of the other questions from this question paper from Nkumba University, Uganda. So see you in the next question. Peace out.